My guest is Pastor Wayne Krause, who is part of the discipleship team at the South Pacific Division, caring specifically for church planting and healthy churches. We also happen to be related by blood. Wayne, welcome.
Thank you.
Church planting, you've planted churches, you did your doctoral thesis on church planting. Why is this so important?
The issue is the command of Jesus Christ right back in Matthew 28 to make disciples. And we found the best place to grow new disciples and to nurture new disciples is in church plants. And so we plant churches not just to plant churches, it's to make disciples.
Okay, so is this a priority for this division?
Very high. We want this division to be part of a church planting, multiplying disciple movement. And so not to just play business as usual, but to aggressively say, we want every church member to be involved in making disciples, multiplying disciples. And that inevitably leads to multiplying churches.
Now, some people, when they hear the term church planting, they're thinking of buildings.
No.
What are you talking about?
People. Buildings are irrelevant when it comes to what we're actually thinking about first. We're multiplying, building up disciples, and if they need a building to help them do that, then great. If not, it can be in a home, it can be in a cafe, it can be in a warehouse, it can be anywhere where people congregate to. Well, in the time of Paul, it was beside the river,
Right.
where they met. They did not have a church building for the first few hundred years of our Christian heritage, so it shouldn't be too high a priority for us now.
Right.
The church did pretty well back then.
You're right.
Maybe we could do the same now.
Okay, so when you look at the church planting of the early Christian church, it tended to be in urban areas. Is that a priority here as well?
Yes, we have identified every city in our division that has a population of 1 million or plus, and that is where we put a specific strategic emphasis that we're going to try and target our urban centres.
Now, looking back to when you were yourself planting a church,
Yes.
What are the major challenges that a church planter faces?
The challenges is to keep the vision of making disciples alive, because vision leaks. If you're not constantly saying it, it's very easy for people to fall back into just be comfortable.
Maintenance.
And when your numbers grow particularly, you kind of go, okay, we're almost comfortable now. But to keep the edge, church planting has been described as the extreme sports of Christianity. And it needs to be kept that way, exciting on the edge where young people want to be part of it because it's something new and I can get there, I can get involved. We don't already have all the elderships filled. We don't have all the ministries filled. I can actually be involved in this in a new area.
How important is the involvement of church members in a church plant rather than being spectators?
Oh, it's essential. It won't happen without it. It's not only in the church plant itself, it's as leading church plants. Because if we rely on the professional pastors to do it, we don't have the resources, we don't have the pastors for that. We need our church members to be leading church plants and being the team that is knowing that they're ministers themselves and doing ministry within community, but also wherever they might be working, they need to know that they're ministers. It's very
important concept. Now, looking at the division at the moment, can you share a story of a church that is being or has been planted?
Oh yes, they're all over the place, but places like New Guinea, they talk about hand churches, where a church lends a hand to start another church. So they'll get some corrugated iron and a group of them will go from a church and they'll run a branch Sabbath school every Sabbath morning at a new village or something like that. They might take some corrugated iron and put a kind of a roof on. It won't have any walls.
Right.
But a church has lent a hand to start a brand new church. That's the islands. Here in Australia and New Zealand, we're planting churches mainly amongst the ethnic groups and new arrivals in our country. Our main challenge is with the majority people in Australia and New Zealand, the Caucasian people. We're having trouble there. But there are church plants in South New Zealand, for example. I know Christchurch, where they had an evangelistic campaign, and instead of saying, we'll scatter all the new people out into existing churches, they said, no, we will have a church plant as a result of this evangelistic campaign. And as a result of that, over 2 years, within Australia and New Zealand, it's huge. They baptised 80 to 100 people, started a brand new church, which since then has planted another church, and that has then planted another church. So we're not just looking at planting a church, but that a church thinks about next one and the next one.
What people watching this program, they might say, well, I'd like to get involved, but I have no idea how to start. What would you say to them?
I would talk first to and pray. If you have a partner, to be praying with that partner about whether this is what God's calling you to do. Talk to some like-minded friends who are saying, yes, we want to be doing stuff. And then when you get excited about that and you think you have a group that might be interested in it, be talking with the conference or the mission.
Right.
To say, hey, what can we do? What are the training do we need to do? What type of equipping would you suggest? Do you have any idea where we could go? How do we link with you to be able to do this healthfully? So yes, every mission and conference in our division and around the world has opportunities now for people who are interested in church planting to approach the conference or mission and say, what can I do?
Now somebody says, look, a terrific idea, but we have half-empty churches. Let's fill them up first and then plant churches.
Yeah, that is a real challenge, and that's sometimes a struggle to know what to do with that. The reality is, however, it's easier to give birth than raise the dead. Mm-hmm. And it is a lot harder to take an existing church that has been around for a long time, that hasn't actually grown, and say, okay, we're going to pour all our energy into that, when sometimes they don't actually want to change. Now, if they want to change, that's different. If they want to change and they're willing to go through the pain of changing, the issue is that church wanting to reach their community? Mm-hmm. And if that is true, then we can help them grow. But usually what happens is there might be some people from there that says, yeah, we will step away from this church to plant another one.
Okay. And a church can also be a mother church to support and pray for.
A church can say, we can't do it ourselves, but we will pray for you. We will throw parties for you and cheer you on. We'll give resources in money, people, many different ways that a church can be a mother church.
Wonderful. Wayne, thanks so much for sharing with us today.
My pleasure.